What's up guys? Welcome back for episode 11. So if you're just joining in, last episode I added finish to the guitar. I leveled, crowned, and polished the frets as well as made the bone nut from scratch. In this episode, come see how I wire the guitar and do the final setup. I wanted to mention that I'm not sponsored and there's no paid promotions in these videos, so any tools you see me using, I purchased myself because I like using the tools. And I figured if I like to use them, you might like to use them as well. So I'll try and leave links below to the tools that I am using in this episode. I'm newer at this and I'm still learning things every day. So if you guys have any tips or suggestions on a more efficient way to do things, leave a comment below because I'd love to hear it. On that note, sit back, relax, grab some snacks, and enjoy the show. This was my first experience soldering in general, let alone wiring a guitar. So I took my time. I had some help from friends who showed me the basics of soldering. They gave me some helpful tips and tricks along the way, but ultimately I just followed the wiring diagram and schematic and just really took a stab at it. I wanted this guitar to have a really big sound, and after doing some research, I ended up going with the 64 single coil pickups from Lollar. I think these pickups sound great and really pack a punch. I also wanted the hardware to match, so I ended up getting these gold brass pickup covers on Etsy, and I think they'll make the aesthetic of the guitar a lot more cohesive. As for the bridge pickup, I really like the sound of the pearly gates from Seymour Duncan, and I think it'll pair nicely with the Lollar 64s. So I realized that the pickguard and control plate weren't sitting flush against the guitar body. And this was because with the potentiometers and selector switch installed, there just wasn't enough free space inside the cavity. So I used my Dremel to hog out a little bit extra material, and then I just covered everything back up with shielding tape. Also at the bottom of the control cavity, I drilled a small hole so that a ground wire could be grounded to the bridge. So once everything was wired up, I wanted to test that everything was working correctly. The easiest way to do this is to plug it in, and with a really small screwdriver tip, I went over each pickup and adjusted the volume and tone to make sure that everything was working properly. On electric guitar, the pickups are the microphone, and you want them to be an appropriate distance away from the strings so that they're not too loud or too quiet. And a general rule of thumb is when you have the high and low E strings fretted at the highest fret, that they're about 2 to 3 32nds of an inch below the string. The next thing I needed to do was to make sure that the neck was straight, and I use a notch straight edge from Stewmac to measure how much bow the strings are putting on the neck. From there, I can adjust the tension on my truss rod to counteract the tension that the strings are putting on the neck to make sure that it's straight. I wanted to make sure that the strings weren't too far above the frets. That way it's pretty comfortable to play. I use a gauge that matches the curve of the fretboard underneath the strings and can adjust the height of the bridge saddles to match that curve so that all the strings end up being around the same height from the frets. So because this neck is straight, the two highest strings have a really shallow angle from the nut to the tuning peg, and this can cause the strings to slip out of the nut. So one of the solutions is to add what's called a string tree, and that increases the downward angle so that the strings don't potentially slip out of the nut. The last important piece of setting up a guitar is making sure that it's intonated properly. Think of the guitar fretboard as being divided into two sections at the 12th fret. The notes from open to the 11th fret are repeated starting at the 12th fret to the end of the fretboard, but just an octave higher. Intonation is basically making sure that the string is tuned to the same note when it's played open as it is when it's fretted at the 12th fret. If the open string is in tune, but when it's fretted at the 12th fret, it's either sharp or flat, then there needs to be an adjustment made to the bridge saddle, either forwards or backwards, to compensate. The last thing to do is clean it up and make it look pretty. Oiling the fretboard keeps your fretboard happy. Fretboards hate water, and they feel so much better when lathered in oil. You want to make sure to oil your fretboard about once to twice a year to make sure your fretboard's nice and healthy and strong. Strong like bull. I added a small amount of graphite powder to the nut slot. This is basically grease for the nut. It allows the string to guide smoothly as you tune it, so it doesn't get stuck, hung up, or jump, so that you can tune your guitar much easier, and it stays in tune. That's it, guys. What to say? The guitar's done. The only thing left to do is demo it, see how it sounds. So I'm pretty excited. Next episode, I'll give you all my thoughts on this whole process. I learned a lot, and it was a lot of fun. So like I said, next episode, I will do a sound demo, and yeah, we'll test out the guitar, see how she sounds. If you've been enjoying the show, comment, like, subscribe, do all the things. It really helps me out and grows the channel. If you want to see more of the guitars that I'm building, down below there's a link to my Instagram so you can check it out. If you are interested in building your dream guitar, shoot me an email. We can see if we can set up a consultation and maybe your guitar could be on the YouTube channel. I hope this video and this series motivates you to build, create, do something outside your comfort zone. I know if I can build a custom guitar from scratch that you guys can do pretty much anything you set your mind to. You just can't be afraid to make mistakes, because mistakes are gonna happen, but it's all about how you fix them. Well, that's all I have for now. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace. Welcome back for episode 11. I couldn't be more excited. Said somebody who sounds excited. Filming's hard. Shoot me an email and we can see.